friends, in this lecture we shall be discussing the cosine rule formulas, how you can recall them, when to use them when solving questions in trigonometry or bearing. So pay good attention to the lecture so you don't miss out of the points. Alright, so as you can see on the screen, we have three formulas here, three equations here, and each of them actually represents the cosine rule formula, beginning from this very first one. And this very first one has A as the subject of the formula, and the second one has B, while the third one has C as the subject of the formula. Now these three formulas, they are actually very much alike in the sense that we have the same variables. We have the same variables in each and every one of them. The only difference is which of the variables is acting as the subject of the formula at every point in time. So for the three equations here, we have three different variables acting as subject of formulas in the three cases. So in the first case, we have A acting as the subject of the formula. In the second case, we have B performing that function, and then we have C performing the function of what? The subject of the formula. And this all depends on which of the sides of the triangle you are actually looking for. Now, first of all, this A, B, C, and the capital letter A, which you are seeing here, capital letter B, capital letter C, what do they actually represent, or what do they stand for? Now, remember, we are talking about trigonometry. We are talking about bearing, and bearing works with triangles. So most of the shapes that you will come out from your design, from your drawing, have interpreted a bearing question will be a triangle, and it can either be an acute angled triangle or an obtuse angled triangle, or it could even be a right angled triangle. And in these cases, you will need to involve or engage either the Pythagoras theorem, the Pythagoras rule rather, or the sine rule or the cosine rule. So given that we are given a triangle like this, for example, if we are given a triangle like this, and of course, you know, this is a right angled triangle, and for this right angled triangle we have three sides. So we call this first side, we call this first point A, and then we have this other point as B. So we have 3 points, and we call this other last point, we call it the point C. Point C actually. So the last point there is actually the point C. Now you will notice that each of these points have they have an angle. Now the angle that is attached to point A is angle 90. Now the angle attached to point C is this angle, and that the angle attached to point B is this other angle. So you can see that each of these points have angles. And what do you notice also? Each of the angles have an opposite side. Each of the angles have what? An opposite side. Now take a look at angle 90. It has an opposite side, and this is the opposite side. This angle attached to point B has an opposite side, and this is the opposite side. The same thing for the angle attached to point C. It has an opposite side, this. So now the side opposite the angle of A, we represent that side with what? Small letter A. And the side opposite the angle B, we represent it with what? Small letter B. The side opposite angle C, we represent it with what? Small letter C. Now you can see where these alphabets that we have just seen in our cosine rule, you can see where they are coming from. So we can see already we have small letters ABC and big letters ABC. Good. Now from here we will not talk about the formula itself. Good. Now there are times where you will have some of these values, the values for the sides or the angles, and there are some other times some of them will be missing. Good. Now if you have your complete triangle, we are still making an illustration with the right angle triangle. So if you have a complete right angle triangle like this, and you are given this shape, this tells us that the angle A is 90 degrees, and then we are also told that angle C is 30 degrees. And if angle C is 30 degrees, it means that angle B will definitely be what? 60 degrees. Angle B will what? Be 60 degrees. Good. Now we have complete information about the angles. We have complete information about the angles. What about the sides? Now we may be told that this side is 5 cm, this side is 4 cm, and unfortunately we may not be given this side B. Good. Now you may be asked to find B. Probably B represents the distance from point A to point C on your diagram of your bearing. You know, in subsequent episodes where we solve questions, practical questions on bearing, you understand this better. But assuming B is the distance from a particular town A to a particular town C, or the distance of flight of an aeroplane from point A to point C, and you are asked to find that distance. It could be in kilometers, yes, it could be in meters. Now, how do you evaluate this B? Because having drawn out your diagram from the interpretation of the bearing question, you got a right angled triangle like this, and then you discover that the side you're actually looking for, the distance you're looking for, constitutes the opposite side of the angle 60, and that's B. So how do you find B? This actually becomes very easy because we remember the rules that governs the sides and angles of triangles, which we have them as what? The Pythagoras rule, the sine rule, and then the cosine rule. Good. Now it means that in all of these three rules, we always have the sides of the triangles and the angles also represented. The Pythagoras rule, which I believe you already know, and that's not what this lecture is meant to cover, but just for us to reiterate that the Pythagoras rule actually states that the square of the hypotenuse now is what? Small letter a, going from here, and then it's going to be equal to the square of what? The two adjacent sides of the triangle. That's the Pythagoras rule. So Pythagoras rule actually captures what? Actually captures the three sides of the triangle. Now, I would love to also let you know that this is not actually where Pythagoras rule stops. Pythagoras rule can also be made to capture the angles, one of these angles, but at the end of the day, it will sum up to 0, and that's why Pythagoras rule tends to end here. So you won't say, if Pythagoras rule is used to resolve triangles, how come we are not having any angle here? So Pythagoras rule actually captures an angle, but eventually will sum up to 0, and for that reason, the angle does not show up in the formula. But for sine rule and for cosine rule, the angle always remains in the formula. Yes, and now we are reviewing the formula cosine rule. For you to recall the formula for cosine rule, first of all, you must understand, as we have said, that these three sides are the ones that always form the subject of the formula. The three sides. But cosine rule rather will always work for what? For triangles. And for triangles, we always have three sides. So the first side is going to be what? Side A. The first side is going to be what? Side A. The second side will be what? Side B. And the third side will be side C, as I've explained. And these are small letters. Now, looking at Pythagoras rule, when A is the subject of the formula, what becomes the other two sides that will be in the other side of the equation? Of course, it will be B and C. In fact, we don't ever see A in this other side of the equation again, since it has already been taking its place as the subject of the formula. Now, when you use this idea, you can easily recall your cosine rule formula. What you do is this: you say, if A is standing at the subject of the formula, remember it must always have a square, just like the Pythagoras rule. Now, whatever we are going to see on the other side, which is the right hand side of the equation, must not have small letter a anymore. And if it doesn't have small letter a, we only want to see B and C. For us to see B and C, it means that we are going to repeat the Pythagoras rule, and we add one more thing. Repeating the Pythagoras rule, we have what? B squared plus what? C squared. These are all small letters, mind you. Yes, this is the Pythagoras rule. Now, what else will not be included? We will not include the opposite of the sign that we find in the Pythagoras rule. The sign we find in the Pythagoras rule is always positive. So we are going to now bring in a negative, minus. And when we bring in a negative, what else are we now going to do? Now we have brought in a negative. We are now going to include what? 2. It's like we are trying to write Pythagoras rule twice, but this time around this side will be, when we write 2, then these same two signs, these same two alphabets which you find on this right hand side of the equation, we'll repeat them, but the second time we are writing it, it's always multiplication, not addition and not subtraction. It's always what? Multiplication. So now it will be what? 2 times b times c times, again, the cosine. This is where the cosine comes in, cosine rule, times the cosine of what? Cosine of what? Cosine of the subject of the formula. The subject of the formula written in its capital letter form is what will always be in the cosine bracket. So we have cos A. Hope that's easy. Okay, now let's do same for the cosine rule where side B is acting as the subject of the formula. Side B acting as the subject of the formula will give us now b squared equals to what? Now the two sides we have on the right hand side of the equation will now be what? The other two sides that are not present in the left hand side, which is A and C. Since we have only B on the left hand side, it means A and C we have to stay on the right hand side. So we have what? A squared plus what? C squared. That is how it goes. Then we repeat, we act as if we want to repeat it again, but this time around we bring in a negative sign, and every other thing becomes multiplication. We now have 2 times what? A times C. Remember, this B can never come again in the right hand side. It stays in the left. So what we have on the right hand side will be what? AC multiplied by what? Cosine of what? This cosine rule. Cosine of what? Cosine of the capital letter of this one. So even when we are seeing B on the right hand side, it doesn't come as small letters. It comes as what? Cosine of B. And then moving to the third form of the cosine rule. These are just different forms in which the cosine rule can appear. The cosine rule can also appear in this form. C squared equals to what? Now we have C on the left hand side. It means the right hand side we have A and B. A squared plus B squared. So we are just playing around these three sides, A, B, C, right? Minus 2. Now we have what? AB multiplied by cosine of what? Cosine of C. Good. This is how simple it is to recall the cosine formula. So you don't have to bother yourself cramming it. You just remember the Pythagoras rule, and you know how to play with the alphabets, know how to change them. Know that when one alphabet appears on the left hand side, it will not appear again on the right hand side. The only things that will appear on the right hand side will be the remaining two alphabets, right? And then you know how to play with them. You know how to bring in the multiplication aspect into it, and then you know how to bring in the angle, cos of the subject of the formula in its capital letter form. Now this is how to recall the cosine rule formula. So how do you make use of the cosine rule formula? Now you make use of the cosine rule formula this way. If you are given your triangle, or having drawn your interpreted your bearing question, and you're having a triangle like this, and in this particular triangle, if you are given two sides, or you discover that you are having two sides, for example, you have side A, you have side B, and there is an included angle. When an angle is included, it means that the angle is wrapped up by the sides. The angle is what? Wrapped up by the side. So if we have the angle here, is it included? It's not included because this is A over here, and this is where the angle is. The angle is not inside A and B. For the angle to be included, the angle must be here. You see it? The angle must be inside A and B. So it's line AB that form the angle. That's what we mean by an included angle. Good. Whenever you have two sides and an included angle, that is when you make use of what? The cosine rule. Good. Now the second point where we can make use of the cosine rule is when we are given all the three sides of the triangle. So even if you don't have any angle at all, but you have values for all the three sides. Let's assume you are given side A to be 5 cm. You are giving side C to be 8 cm, and you are giving side B to be 4.5 cm, and then you don't have any angle, but you are expected to find out one of these angles as your bearing. Yes, so you should know here that you can use the cosine rule. Now if you don't want to cram these two things in your head, so you don't have to be trying to recall, the prerequisite for you to make use of the cosine rule what you simply have to do is this: you go again by inspection, like I emphasized in the last episode. So if you have not watched the last episode on how you should know when to make use of the sine rule, please go back to the channel playlist, go back to the channel videos, and you check it and you see episode 9 on bearing, how to make use of what? The sine rule, and you watch it to understand that. Now, for you to know when to make use of the cosine rule without cramming this prerequisite, is simply to go this way. Now, you are given a triangle, or you interpreted your question and it resulted to something like this, a triangle with 3 sides, of course. Now let's assume you are given this angle to be 120, you were given this angle to be 60 degrees, you were not given the other angle, and then you were given this side to be A, this B, and this to be C, and then you were given this side to be what? 5 cm, and then you were given this other side to be what? 9 cm, but you were not given this side A, and then you are expected to find side A. Question: can you use cosine rule here, or can you use sine rule? By inspection, let's find out. First of all, you record the cosine rule that relates to the side you are looking for. The side you are looking for is A, so you record the formula that has A as the subject. That will be what? A squared equals to what? B squared plus C squared minus 2BC multiplied by what? Cos A. Now, what do you need for you to make use of this formula successfully? You need to be aware of B, you need to have B, you need to have C, then you need to have alphabet capital letter A. Capital letter A stands for the angle A, so this is capital letter A. Angle A is 120, so that's capital letter A, cos 120. Do you have B? Of course, the B is the opposite, the side that is opposite to the angle B, and that is what? That is this side, opposite to angle B. You have B. Do you have C? C is the side that is opposite to angle C. If that's angle C, the side opposite to angle C is 5 cm. You have C. Correct. That means we can use the cosine rule to resolve this question. Very simple. Now, let's check on the other hand. Can we use sine rule? Can we use sine rule? Again, you recall the formula that has what you're looking for. You're looking for A. So the formula you will use for sine rule must have A. And that will be what? Small letter A over sine A. And you can choose to use small letter C over sine C. Or you can choose to use small letter B over sine B. Let's check for this one first of all. Now, we have our capital letter A. That means this part is validated. We are looking for small a and we have capital letter A. That's okay. Do we have small c? Small c is what? 5 cm. We have small c. Do we have angle C? Of course not. We don't have it. So it means that this one can't work. But wait, that's not all. Let's replace this with the second portion of the sine rule. We can either use the sine rule, we can either use A over sine A, because this is what we're looking for, so it must be there. Then we have just tried C over sine C. If you don't want to use C over sine C, we can also use what? Small letter B over sine B. This is sine rule. So these are the two ways we can use the sine rule. Now let's check. Now, do we have small letter B? Yes, we have small letter B. Do we have big letter B, that is angle B? Yes, we have it. Good. Validated. This means sine rule can work for this question as well as cosine rule. So you can see the reason why you don't actually have to cram. But I think the best way to go is to save yourself the stress of the cramming and just learn to go by inspection. When you have mastered this, you can do this quickly. You just have to find out what is the side or the angle you are looking for. And immediately, once you have the formulas in your head, the cosine rule and the sine rule, which I've taught you how to recall, I've taught you how to recall the cosine rule formula. And when you go through the episode 9 on sine rule, you also see a possible way to recall the sine rule formula. Right now, look at it. Once you have this formula stored up in your memory and you have your question, you don't even have to start thinking You don't even have to start thinking, okay, what are the rules now that I need to recall for me to know how to use sine rule, when to use sine rule. And you have to list the three of them first, and then, okay, what about the cosine rule? You have to list the three of them first, and that may become SS work for you, with a lot of things that you have to keep in your memory for you to pass your maths exam. So if you learn to go by inspection, you can solve any question freely with confidence, and you are sure of getting your answer. And even if you have to do some any other thing, maybe in some any other topic where you still need to use the knowledge of sine rule and cosine rule, you can always do so, even in physics, without even thinking of trying to recall what you have crammed in mathematics. Hope that's good. Now, if you have already stored up those rules and prerequisite your memory, is not bad, it's good. But for those who find it difficult to cram, this video is for you, so you can learn to go by inspection. And hope you have learned something from this video. So if you have done so, I would love you to subscribe to this channel, so that you can also get notification. So for you to get notification, you have to click the bell icon, and click all, so you can get all notifications on all videos uploaded on this channel. Also, like the channel, click the like button, and please do well to share with your friends. And remember that Jesus loves you, is coming again. That means you have to be prepared for him. You have to give your life to Jesus and be saved, and make sure that you are walking in righteousness. I pray God will keep you till our next episode. See you.